This January, the United States has enacted sweeping new federal pistol regulations, representing one of the most significant changes to national gun policy in decades. These new laws mark a historic shift in how the country approaches gun ownership and public safety, signaling a new era in the ongoing debate over firearms. For the first time, a single federal standard now overrides the patchwork of state and local gun laws, aiming to address the nation's gun violence crisis with a unified approach. The hope is to reduce confusion, close dangerous loopholes, and create a more consistent system for all Americans. Supporters hail this as a long-overdue step for public safety, closing loopholes and ensuring responsible firearm ownership. They argue that these measures will help save lives and bring the U.S. closer to the standards seen in other developed nations. But millions see it as an unprecedented infringement on Second Amendment rights, fueling suspicion and anger. Many gun owners and advocacy groups warn that these regulations threaten personal freedoms and set a dangerous precedent for government overreach. The new rules have ignited fierce debate, with legal challenges and protests erupting nationwide. Courtrooms and city streets alike have become battlegrounds for the future of gun rights in America. This moment is not just about guns, it's about the core values and future direction of American society. The conversation now touches on identity, freedom, and what it means to be an American in a changing world. The regulations arrive amid deep political polarization and eroded trust in institutions, intensifying the stakes. With emotions running high, the nation finds itself at a crossroads, searching for solutions in a time of uncertainty. As the world watches, America faces a defining test of its democracy and its ability to find common ground. The outcome of this debate will shape not only gun policy, but the very fabric of American life for generations to come. America's gun laws have always been a patchwork, shaped by local customs and national tragedies. Federal involvement began with the National Firearms Act of 1934 and the Gun Control Act of 1968, each responding to violence and public outcry. Mass shootings like Columbine and Sandy Hook reignited calls for reform, but fierce opposition and Supreme Court rulings, like Heller and McDonald, protected individual gun rights. In the 2020s, relentless shootings and shifting public opinion finally broke the political deadlock. Behind the scenes, lawmakers forged a fragile consensus, driven by a sense that the status quo was unsustainable. The Trump administration's expansion of federal law enforcement powers set the stage for sweeping change. The new regulations are the product of decades of conflict, compromise, and a nation pushed to its limits. Today's laws reflect a turbulent history and a country still searching for balance. The new regulations require all pistol owners to obtain a federal permit and register their firearms in a national database. Enforcement is aggressive, led by federal agencies like the Department of Homeland Security. Tensions exploded in Minneapolis with the fatal shooting of Alex Pretty, an ICU nurse and licensed gun owner. Pretty was killed by federal agents during a chaotic encounter, despite being disarmed and subdued, an event captured on video and witnessed by bystanders. Officials labeled him a domestic terrorist, but video evidence quickly contradicted their claims, fueling outrage and distrust. The Pretty case has become a symbol of the dangers and confusion surrounding the new laws. It raises a chilling question. When does legal gun ownership become a perceived threat in the eyes of law enforcement? The tragedy has turned abstract policy into a visceral, national crisis. Alex Pretty's death sparked immediate, massive protests in Minneapolis and across the country. Within hours, city streets filled with people from all walks of life, united in grief and outrage. The outpouring of emotion was raw and powerful, as communities gathered to mourn, demand answers, and call for change. Demonstrators demanded justice and an end to aggressive federal operations, while the National Guard's deployment escalated tensions. The presence of military vehicles and armed personnel only deepened the sense of crisis, turning city centers into flashpoints of confrontation and fear. Local and state officials condemned the federal response, seeking legal action to block further enforcement. Press conferences became daily events, as leaders tried to reassure the public and assert their authority in the face of federal intervention. The standoff has exposed deep rifts between federal and local authorities, challenging the foundations of American federalism. Behind closed doors, heated debates raged over who should control the response and what it means for the balance of power in the country. Economic disruption and fear have gripped affected communities, as businesses shudder and daily life is upended. Storefronts once bustling with activity now stand empty, and uncertainty hangs heavy in the air. Nationally, the incident has deepened political polarization, making compromise seem impossible. The country is split not just by ideology, but by fundamentally different visions of justice and security. The Pretty shooting has united unlikely allies, gun rights advocates, civil liberties groups, and police reform activists. While hardening the resolve of administration supporters, new coalitions are forming as people search for common ground amid the chaos. The case is now a litmus test for political loyalty, with Americans divided over the same set of facts. Conversations at dinner tables and online have become battlegrounds, as friends and families struggle to find agreement. The social fabric, already frayed, is being stretched to the breaking point. Trust in institutions and in each other is eroding, leaving many to wonder what comes next. The nation faces a reckoning over justice, accountability, and the meaning of public safety. As the crisis deepens, Americans are forced to confront difficult questions about who they are and what kind of country they want to become. Gun rights groups like the NRA and Gun Owners of America have swiftly condemned the shooting, calling it a dangerous precedent for all Americans who value their Second Amendment rights. They warn that no gun owner is safe under the new regime, arguing that the government's actions threaten the freedoms of responsible citizens everywhere. Law enforcement leaders, including former Commissioner Charles Ramsey, have called for an independent investigation, emphasizing the need for transparency and accountability in the wake of public outrage. Critics have been quick to point out the rush to defend the agents involved, raising concerns about bias and a lack of impartiality in the official response. Many within law enforcement fear the incident undermines public trust and tarnishes the badge, making it harder for officers to serve their communities with integrity. Administration supporters, however, defend the agents' actions, insisting that they followed protocol in a rapidly escalating situation. They argue the agents faced a violent threat and dismiss video evidence as misleading or taken out of context, fueling heated debate across the country. This deep divide reflects a broader belief in overwhelming force as a tool for maintaining order, regardless of the circumstances or the cost to civil liberties. Meanwhile, Alex Pretty's community mourns his loss, gathering at vigils and sharing memories of his kindness and dedication. They remember him as a compassionate nurse, a tireless advocate for justice, and a friend who always put others first. The American Nurses Association and Pretty's colleagues have joined together, demanding transparency, accountability, and meaningful change in his name. For them, the official narrative is a second injury, compounding their grief and fueling a sense of injustice that ripples through the healthcare community. The case has become a rallying point for those demanding police reform, inspiring protests and calls for systemic change. It has also become a symbol of the risks facing lawful gun owners, who now question their own safety and rights in an uncertain climate. Across the nation, families are left grappling with fear, uncertainty, and a growing sense of vulnerability. Anger simmers in the streets, and a desperate need for answers unites people from all walks of life as the country searches for a path forward. As the fallout from the Pretty shooting continues, the Supreme Court is weighing a pivotal case, Woolford v. Lopez. The case challenges Hawaii's law banning firearms on most private property open to the public without explicit owner consent. Supporters argue it balances gun rights with property rights, rooted in historical tradition. Opponents, backed by gun rights groups and the Trump administration, claim it's a de facto ban that guts the right to carry in public. The court's decision could either empower states to create more gun-free zones or limit their regulatory power, reshaping the Second Amendment's reach. Millions of gun owners and business owners await the outcome, which will set a crucial national precedent. The ruling will either expand or contract where and how Americans can legally carry firearms. The stakes for both rights and public safety have never been higher. America stands at a crossroads, with new gun laws sparking chaos and deepening divides. The Pretty tragedy is a symptom of a nation where facts are contested and trust is shattered. The debate now transcends gun rights. It's about the survival of a pluralistic society. The path forward demands truth, accountability, and a transparent investigation into Pretty's death. Real change requires honest dialogue and a willingness to understand opposing fears and convictions. The courts will weigh in, but legal rulings alone can't heal the nation. The future depends on citizens stepping back from the brink and forging a new consensus. The soul of the nation is at stake, calling for active, thoughtful participation from all Americans.